Welcome back to West Texas View.
Welcome back to the West Texas View. Just before the break, Jim Wise was talking to us about the process of the horse show that will be starting March the 23rd. And he said Friday night is the speed events, the barrels and the poles, all ages, both genders. And then we started with Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, and that's the showmanship kind of thing where they lead these beautiful, beautiful animals around the arena and let people just see them showing off.
That's right.
And they're judged at that point by certain criteria.
Their conformation, how their proportions from their head to their hips to their body, their leg straightness, all the things.
Quality of their
the standard of a quarter horse. That's right, and their hair, and so they're just as we mentioned earlier about a dog show. You're looking for the animal that best fits what that breed was developed for. And so they start with that, then they move into showmanship. You mentioned that, and showmanship is using possibly the same horse, but now you're judging the person that's showing the horse.
Because they have to make him get
do
down
what
on
they
his,
want to. Well, they have to stop when they want them to, spin the way they want them to, and not resist what the show person is trying to get them to do. So you're showing basically how much time you spend with your horse, and you guys start to connect.
And the relationship
That's
between
right.
you and your horse.
You can't just grab a horse and go do it. It doesn't work.
So it's showing that you and that horse communicate with
That's
each
exactly
other.
right.
And the better you communicate, the higher your score is going to be.
That's right.
So that's the first one is the walk around, and then the second one is the showmanship, and then what's after that?
Next will be English. We have English classes where they have the little hats and the jackets and all the English stuff, and then your horse moves in a different way. For English, they want a horse that moves out a little bit more, and so they'll have the English classes, all age group. There'll be horsemanship, what they kind of call horsemanship.
But the English style.
The English style.
The formal English style, more or less.
And then they'll move from that into the Western events, and they'll do the same things they did in English with a few extras. They'll have what they call pleasure, which is just seeing how the horse moves and how comfortable it is to ride. And then they have horsemanship, which again shows the relationship between the horse and rider, because you're asked to do specific things at specific points in a pattern, and then you're judged on how well you and your horse communicate and do that pattern. And then they'll move to reining, which will be a high speed, several circles and lead changes and spins and some things like that. That's kind of exciting to watch.
That you do it strictly by
by reins. That is correct.
But tell me that you mentioned the very first thing is the poles and the barrels. Well, the people that compete on that, do they compete on the same horse they're going to show?
Some do.
Because it looks like they'd be afraid they'd nick themselves going around the barrel, or.
Well, part of it is when I talked about the pleasure class where you want your horse to be comfortable to ride. Well, when you're racing, that's not always that comfortable like that. So there's more of trying to get the horse to run faster for this event and then slowing it down for this event. It takes a special athletic horse to be able to do multiple events. And when they get to Quarter Horse World, they actually have a class where a horse competes and wins in several classes.
It's almost like a triathlon.
It is.
They have to do all of that stuff.
And well, if they are able to compete in several, qualify for several events, they can qualify for the World Quarter Horse. And that is the horse that scores above not only first in their class, but first in several classes against other horses. And so it's a special athlete that gets that kind of award.
Is there any difference in the way a woman trains a quarter horse and a man trains a quarter horse?
I think it's more a difference in style of training horses. I don't think women or men.
There's some gender doesn't have anything to do with it.
There can be rough-handed people and easy-handed people and people that there's different requirements. If you're trying to get a horse ready for a very in a very short period of time, or you're trying to get one ready over time, there's a different style that goes with that. And I don't think either one of them are wrong in one way or another. We prefer a longer method with our horses because it's like you mentioned earlier about repetition. More repetition and reward when they do something.
It,
That's right.
internalizes it. Well, but is one of the purposes of the Quarter Horse Association to create trainers, riders, or breeders?
I think all of that.
All of it?
I think all of it because the sole purpose is to promote the breed, okay? And when you're promoting the breed, then it automatically pulls in riders because you got to have that part of it. It pulls in trainers to get those ready for that, and so you've involved everybody in the promotion of that. So the whole purpose of American Quarter Horse is to promote that breed, the quarter
But when
horse.
I'm at Ruidoso and sitting there reading the page of who trained it, who owns it, who's the jockey, then one of the things I'm looking at is that sometimes the same trainer has trained horses in different races.
Yes.
And sometimes even for different owners, but usually for the same owner. And so I just wondered, is trainers a dying breed? Are we having trouble getting enough trainers, and so we need to get more into the business?
I think that goes across the board. I think you have less people purchasing horses. You know, you've got to have the horses in the beginning to have the need for the trainer. So if you don't have this commodity, there's no need for this other one. So I think it's a matter of how many horses are out there. If you come to our show, you'll see that there are trainers there that bring multiple horses and train for multiple people in our business. Okay, they may have a barn that has 6 horses in it and it belongs to 6 different people. And they'll come as amateurs to show those horses, but then you'll also see that horse shown again, maybe with a kid on it, or in the open classes with the trainer actually riding the horse. So there may be 3 different people riding that horse in a single day. So I think the answer is if we get more people interested in purchasing horses and wanting to do this kind of thing, then there'll have to be more trainers.
And because hardly ever is the owner the trainer.
It is. There are some that are out there. My wife and daughter have been doing it for so long, but they still, I think it's just like a professional golfer or anybody else. At some point, you've got to go to somebody to get some help. And we do the same thing with our horses from time to time. Just maybe develop some bad habits that you haven't realized. And so you go to a trainer and they spot it right away, and you spend a little time and correct those things and then go back. But yes, we have had horses that trainers, but my wife and daughter are very good at what they do also.
And so you mentioned that your daughter lives in Clyde, and so does she train horses there?
She actually is the one that breaks our colts whenever when we've raised our own, we send them to her, and she's the one that breaks them. So she is doing some training.
So she works with a lot of the vets that say we need to find somebody that can train horses. We're going to have to take a break right now, and then we're going to come back and finish this conversation. See you in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.